I mean, we don't put it in a rotation. What does that mean? Do you mean it doesn't, you'll listen to it on a regular?
No, I don't.
Do you have in Luther in some of your lights? Why is she here?
Do you listen? So going back to Susan's questions, I thought it was a good question, Susan. Thank you. And I'll start by introducing Susan Frazier and Cheryl Frazier, both of which have been on the Sling of Ages podcast a few seasons and have been, well, at least Cheryl's been a stellar vocal contributor to the podcast.
Stellar.
Stellar. Oh, Susan has not done anything, but I think the next Bob Dylan album will have Susan singing a song.
I know.
But Susan asked a very good question because we're looking at, for season 6, Luther Vandross has given me the reason from 1986. And Susan's question was to you, Cheryl, what do you listen to normally from Luther Vandross? And your answer is?
Not much.
Right.
Not if it happens to come up, if I happen to listen to a playlist that's already pre-made on what's that, Spotify or something like that, and he happens to come on, then fine. But if he's not something that I have saved, I mean, don't slay me. I mean, I like him. I like his songs. I'm a big fan of his ballads, but on a regular, what?
So, so if you have your own playlist that you make,
yes,
like I have a playlist. You are there any Luther songs that you have added to your own playlist? Not something that just comes up.
Well, actually, I have 2 or 3. I know his duet with Beyonce, The Closer I Get to You, and that's the only Beyonce I have. I like how their voices mesh together in that song. And that was one of my favorite songs with Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway. No.
Yes.
Yes, you're right.
Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway. And I have his duet with Gregory Hines. There's Nothing Better Than Love.
Okay, okay.
There's another song that I can't remember, and it'll probably come to me as we go along. But those 2 I definitely have.
Okay.
So, it begs the question why even on this podcast.
Why is she here?
Well, you know what?
Well, thank you both for joining again for season number 6. We're talking about Give Me a Reason, the album from Luther Vandross, which was his album from 1990. God, what is it?
1986. 1986.
And it followed, well, he had a bunch of albums before that. Never Too Much from 1981.
Never Too Much, Never Too Much.
Forever, For Always, For Love, 1982. Busybody, which may be my favorite Luther album, 1983. The Night I Fell in Love, 1985. Any Love, 1988. Power of Love, 1991. Never Let Me Go, 1993. Songs, which I think was the greatest hits album, 1994. This Is Christmas, 1995. Your Secret Love, 1996. I Know, 1998. Luther, 2001.
Go on.
And his last album, 2003's Dance with My Father, which I think he posthumously won a Grammy Award for that album. He won Record of the Year with Richard Marx for Dance with My Father. He also was nominated for Best Male R&B Vocal and for Best R&B Song. And then Closer I Get to You, as Cheryl mentioned, with Beyonce, was nominated for Grammy as well. And Best R&B Album 2004 as well, nominated but did not win. And Got You Home 2007. So a lot of catalog out there for Luther Vandross. Of course, we know Luther is no longer with us. He died, and God, when did he die? 2000 and something. I should know.
Yeah, but it was matter of fact, it was sometime this week or this past week.
Well, he died July 1st, 2005 at the age of 85.
Oh, I thought it was in April. No, I'm sorry. His birthday's in April. His birthday's in April.
Birthday's April 20th.
Right. Yes. There we go.
So death and being born different, Susan, just in
Yeah,
case.
I know that. I'm just, oh,
Want to explain that to
God.
the podcast listeners who don't understand that. And Luther Vandross was a respected vocal arranger, came to prominence with his vocal arrangement of Young Americans by David Bowie. A fantastic singer, but he had a number of medical problems and died of a stroke, I believe, or an illness related to a stroke after a long illness. So that's Luther for you. But this album,
That's,
which Cheryl does not like, apparently.
oh,
I didn't say, now see, I didn't say that. For all you people watching, I did not say that. I
I'm not
said it
sure
was
what you
my
mean by you
favorite.
people. Do you mean
allegedly.
podcast listeners or
You got to say allegedly.
allegedly? Yeah. And this album, which was, like I mentioned, released in 86, was recorded from June 1985 to June 1986. And it was recorded at the fabulous Air Studios in Montserrat, which of course is no longer there because a hurricane destroyed the studio, and lots of great albums were recorded there. And there was some overdubbing done in West Hollywood at Westlake Recording Studio, as well as the Minot Studio in White Plains, New York, and released on Epic Records. The album was also produced mostly by Luther with the fantastic, extremely highly skilled Marcus Miller, who is a world-renowned jazz bassist, composer, and also a bass clarinetist, if you want to add that into it. So, where to start? The hits.
The hits.
The hits, we'll start with the hits. The song Stop to Love was released in
One
August
moment,
of
please.
1986. Yes.
The other song was his duet with Cheryl Lynn. If This
Oh,
World
of
Was
course.
Mine.
She said it would come to her.
Yeah.
What was the name of the song?
If This World Was Mine.
Were mine.
What album was that on? I don't know that. I don't know the song.
It hit the singles chart in 1982.
Okay.
So it might have been on, let me see. I'll have
Let
to
me
look.
look. I'll look at this.
Yeah.
I was just curious because I only know Cheryl Lynn really from the David Page songs, the Toto song she did, To Be Real, and what's the other? They're famous with
George
Georgie.
and Porgy.
Yeah, which is
Wait
just
a minute. She was also, where did she start? On
Gong
the Gong
Show.
Show.
I'm sorry, you said the Gong Show?
Yes.
Did not know that.
Oh, yes, we talked about this before.
I don't recall ever having a conversation about her.
Sidebar. We had a conversation about her because she was on Toto. She got her start on the Gong Show.
Okay, so back to me. We're talking about Luther Vandross. We're talking about Give Me the Reason, and it hits from Give Me the Reason. So let's go through the singles first, because Cheryl may know some of those. The first one was the kickoff track from the album, which was a song, Stop to Love, which was released in 1986, August of 1986. And that was like I mentioned, a Vandross Miller production where Marcus played bass on that. It also included the amazing Paul Jackson Jr., who has been on millions of records. He's a fantastic guitarist, rhythm guitarist, and soloist. Also included Doc Powell on guitar, who I think handled the lead guitar. We had Yogi Horton on drums. We talked about Yogi Horton on the episode that you were on when we talked about some of our favorite albums. And of course, Yogi Horton, fantastic R&B jazz drummer who committed suicide on tour with Luther. He ran through a window in a hotel and fell into the street.
Wait. I didn't know that. But I remember.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It also featured, of course, Marcus Miller on bass. And there's unusual for an R&B song, because it was an R&B song, a guitar solo, which I believe was done by Doc Powell. It doesn't sound like Paul Jackson Jr. to me, but fantastic guitar solo. And it included, and I want to talk about the backing vocals before I get to you two. So Luther was known for his prowess at being a vocalist, lead vocalist, and a backing vocalist. and also incorporating the vocalists in his songs. So his lead vocals were incredible, obviously, but he worked with some vocal contractors or people to get vocalists come in and help arrange a vocalist. So for the sopranos, Alpha Anderson, who you may remember from Chic, Lisa Fisher, who is still around,
I love her.
soprano
Love her.
vocalist,
Hey,
and
that's Cheryl. That's one of Cheryl's favorites.
she's a
That's what I
fantastic
like.
vocalist in her own right. And of course, been to Rolling Stones for 30 years, probably. Sissy Houston, who is
Yes.
Who?
to some other singer you may know. Cheryl Lynn as a soprano vocalist as well. We just talked about Cheryl Lynn. And then Myra Smith Schilling, who I don't know, but she's been around for a while as well. And then for the alto vocalist, Ava Cherry, who's a renowned backing vocalist. Then Charlotte Crossley, another alto vocalist, and Paulette McWilliams. And I think it lists in the credits Paulette McWilliams. I think that's Paulette Williams, who was Lenny Castro's first wife and toured with a lot of different people, and she died a few years ago of cancer. Then the male vocalist, the renownable Fuzzy Thornton, who is almost everywhere these days and still around after 30 years as a backing vocalist and vocal contractor, meaning he got some people together. And then Kevin Owens, who I'm not very familiar with, and then the great David Lastly, who wrote the song by that singer, Anita Baker. You Bring Me Joy. And David Lastly was
He said by that singer.
by that singer whose name I didn't remember. Yeah, he wrote "You Bring Me Joy" for his album, and he had a brief solo career, but it's mostly known for his work with James Taylor as one of James Taylor's male backing vocalists, who worked with James Taylor for 30 years, and he died last year, complications related to diabetes, I believe. So Lastly and Skip Anderson Lastly and Fuzzy Thornton did the vocal arrangements and the contracting rather of getting the vocalists in. Again, song is upbeat. There's a lot of 80s synth sounds on this album, which Cheryl says she doesn't like, so that's probably why she doesn't listen to it too much.
Once again, watch the counselor.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But the vocals are incredible. And the lyrics which Luther did, they're not horrible. They're fine lyrics. They're not memorable, but what do you two think of the album?
Wait.
The song.
Wait, what do you mean they're not memorable?
There's not much heft to Luther's lyrics. He writes kind of about the same thing: falling in love, falling out of love, chasing love. That's kind of his motif throughout this entire album and most of his career, actually.
Right. So if it may be the same subject, but the lyrics are memorable. I mean, how do you sing along if you don't know the lyrics? I'm confused.
On my own part.
I'm just there and say that the lyrics are not memorable when you tell somebody to sing "Stop to Love" and they start singing it. Why? Because they remember it.
Okay, Cheryl, so do you know the lyrics? Do you know the song "Stop to Love"?
She allegedly doesn't like this song.
I do know. I know all of the songs.
The only one I did. Go ahead, Cheryl. I'm sorry.
Except for
"See Me" was the only one I didn't remember.
Yeah, "See Me." That one didn't ring a bell. But I know all of the songs. I like them. I like I said before, I like his ballads, the fast songs, "Stop to Love."
So Cheryl, why do you remember "Stop to Love"?
Because I heard it all the time.
See? So you remember the lyrics. I am take offense to you saying that the lyrics aren't, what did you say? Memorable or whatever you said.
I can sing them now.
Right.
But it's just it.
Okay, these will not go down as classic lyrics in the R&B canon. The lyrics are "Lately loves me to be wake at night, tossing and turning my love, want to kiss, want to hold you tight. Oh, but I wonder, love, whether you know or not, when you just hurry away, leaving me lying there in shock. I just want to be the one you want to see. I just want to have you near me. but you fly away almost every day. You work a lot, but you never stop to love. Stop.
Stop.
Oh, come on, that's memorable.
To reach the top, you stop. And when you hear it with the music, it brings it all together. I'm taking offense. I'm offended.
Okay, so noted.
I like the album. Obviously, it wouldn't be on the podcast if I didn't. I like the song. And for me, what I like about the song is I love the rhythm. Marcus Miller and Yogi Horton really hook up really well here, and unusual for the R&B piece with that guitar solo. It is fascinating for me, but the lyrics, I mean, but I grew to the lyrics, yeah, but do I remember them? I don't. But it's just me, just saying. And
Yeah.
well, go ahead.
It's got a nice beat and you can dance to it.
It's got a nice beat. You can dance to it. It was the #1 hit single on the Black singles charts.
Because the Black people know.
I guess it was number 27 on the Hot Dance Club Play chart, and it reached number 15 on Billboard top.
And have you seen the video? The video.
I watched it today because I didn't remember the video.
How did you not remember that? It's like they're just in the wind, blowing in the wind.
Really?
Yeah, you just see them from like the waist up. You just like right here, like us. And they just.
I think this was also the time when Luther was relatively thin, so it was one of his phases. So he did more videos, I guess. And this is also released as had an instrumental mix, had a remix, and it's a single version. So they really went all out making this song a hit, and it was a moderate pop hit. Anything else about Stop to Love? Because we're just going to go down the list of singles first.
Okay.
The show didn't listen to the album.
Yes, I did.
Allegedly.
I take offense to that. So there's one offense for me and one for Susan.
remember to say, why don't you edit this out of the podcast?
I'm keeping a list of offenses, grievances for festivals.
Grievances.
All right, so the next song is the title track, which is the 5th song on the album. It is Give Me the Reason. And that song, do you remember what movie that song came from? Or is it on the soundtrack of?
No.
I don't remember it either. It was on the Ruthless People soundtrack.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember Ruthless People that much. I thought it was a pretty bad movie. But it was I think it was the second single on the release from the album. It was a top 5 Billboard Black singles chart hit, and it reached number 57 on the pop charts. And it was it was a title track, but it's not a bad. It's a good song too. It's another good song.
If you say it that you keep with unmemorable lyrics, we're gonna fight.
Okay, well, I'm not going to say it out loud.
Fight.
I don't think YouTube or the Sling Ages podcast would appreciate a fight.
We don't condone violence.
The song was written by Luther with Nate Adderley Jr., who was a keyboard contributor to Luther's albums and a noted jazz keyboardist as well. And of course, come from a line of great musicians in his family. And number 57 Billboard charts, and number 3 on the Hot R&B singles. How does the R&B singles chart differ from the Black chart? I don't know. Anybody?
That's a good. I have no
idea.
There
was a black
chart. Me either.
Just R&B.
R&B. I didn't know that. You learn something new every day.
Yeah,
do. So,
but again, give me a reason why those is when you hear it and you just start moving. It's a good song.
I might say that Stop to Love and Give Me the Reasons kind of sound the same to me. They have that same bass line. Ding, 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 ding. I mean, it has the same feel to me.
It has the same feel. I don't think they sound, to me, in my opinion, they have the same feel because they just. But I don't know about that. I go back and listen to them now. I'm trying to play. Now I can't play 2 songs in my head at once. I can't hear both of them.
What
Well,
say
Never.
you, Professor?
I think the difference for me, and we'll talk about this a few other songs in this album, is that Give Me the Reason is a much more 80s sound, much more synthetic compared to Stop to Love.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
definitely the synthesized bass. There's no real bass on it. Marcus Miller didn't play bass on that. He may have programmed the synthesizer bass, but it's synthesized bass. It is much more drum machine on that, a lot
Mhm.
less Yogi Gordon on that. I don't even know who played guitar on this. I think it was Doc Powell who played guitar along with Paul Jackson Jr., but the feel is different. At the time, they probably thought it was more contemporary.
Mhm.
And the song didn't do poorly. It did well. I mean, it was a top 10 hit on the R&B chart or a black chart. And it's a title track of the album. So it's not a bad song. It's a good song. It's just, I think it's a little bit more dated because of the production.
When you say dated, what do you mean?
I- From in my mind, some songs stand out because of their sound. Now, 80 songs to me, which stand out are the ones where they use a Yamaha DX7 synth. And you hear a lot of that in this album. We have these synth stabs, which don't even try to sound like real instruments. And then you have the percussion track, which isn't percussion, it's usually a drum machine or a rhythm track going through the song. It does, you hear a lot of doo, 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 kind of thing with a drum sound, which isn't a real
Mhm.
drum sound. And I think that really dates music from the 80s in particular. And I think in the 90s and even now, you could have a fully synthesized or fully programmed drum track which sounds like drums, as opposed to the synth drum sound with that fake snare sound that you hear a lot in this album. And a lot
Mhm.
of drum fills are fake or synth drums. But this is definitely programming.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Need to educate you people.
Allegedly.
Learn you something about music.
Move on. Next
Okay.
song.
Next song. Next single from the album, which was released April 1987. So that's several months. So the first single was August 1986. The next single was April 1987, and that is I Really Didn't Mean It.
I
Um,
really didn't mean it.
and Cheryl, I think you were talking about this song when you on time logged into the chat and the meeting.
Ooh.
And while we're waiting for Susan,
Hmm.
and this song was probably my least favorite song on the album. It
Really?
is a now this says I'm looking. It says U.S. Hot Black Singles. It doesn't say
What
R.
is that?
Another list?
It was a
Wait,
number
Is-
6 song on the Hot Black Singles chart.
Susan,
Okay.
Susan, we're just super
Number
not black.
16 on the UK singles chart.
Clearly.
So apparently the black people like the song, but I really don't. I think
No, the hot blacks
The
liked it.
hot black.
I didn't know there was a list. So
You know, there were hot black.
the hot blacks like it. But I can't really think of much to say about the song. Again,
I
go ahead,
I'm
Susan.
gonna I agree. It's not one of my favorites.
You know, like I said, I liked it because I like his ballads. I like the slow
Mm.
Luther.
It was okay.
He
It was
doesn't talk, the song doesn't say anything.
yeah. It was okay.
One of the things that he does, though, I'm not sure if he produced it by himself or was this with Marcus Miller. I don't know. No, it's with Marcus Miller, and he did write it with Mark. He wrote it with Marcus Miller, produced it with Marcus Miller. But the production really relies on a lot of 80s production tropes. There's very little real instrumentation to it. He does utilize his vocals extremely well, his lead vocals, and he brings in the female chorus really well.
Mhm.
But it just doesn't go anywhere. And there's this weird bridge which kind of fits awkwardly in the song, which I don't know, I just think it doesn't quite work as well as you would want it to work. So again, not one of my favorites.
Wait a minute.
Stretch.
Time out.
Yeah.
So you said it fits awkwardly, and maybe that's how he wanted it.
Yeah, he did. And
Yeah.
I tell you, it's how he wanted, Susan. I would agree because I don't like to agree with people on this podcast, but I agree because if he didn't want it, he could have changed it since he was
He could have changed it.
producer
Exactly.
Right.
and really
Exactly.
it was his concept. But it was no. I would have to say
So,
no.
so stop judging
When
Luther.
I say I don't like the song, I really do mean it.
I liked it. Moving on.
I didn't say I did dislike. It wasn't one of my favorites on the album. Let me put that.
Okay, so Cheryl said we have to move on because she's
Okay,
busy.
clearly. So let's move on.
Um,
Let's move on.
The next single, number 4 from this album, which was released in June 1987, was a single, There Is Nothing Better Than Love,
Nothing better than
with
love.
the late Gregory Hines. So what do you know about this song?
I know I liked it.
I liked it.
That's that's one of my favorites. I like Luther duets, and
Mhm.
this one with Gregory Hines is one of my top songs
I like this one.
of all
Yeah.
songs.
This is weird. This go ahead, Susan.
I just thought it was weird. Like Gregory Hines, how did that come together? I'd like to know the backstory about how they decided to do that song together.
Well, Susan, this podcast is about the backstory.
Oh, we got a backstory?
No, I don't.
Oh.
Show me the backstory how they got together for this song.
I don't know.
Story.
So I looked up one for it, but
Oh, okay.
I
So the
remember the video
song,
for it.
we do know the song reached number 1 on the Billboard R&B charts. So it wasn't on the black charts; it was on the R&B charts. And it was really his first success, Gregory Hines' first success on the charts overall. And he produced music before and after. He did a self-titled album in 1988 because Luther gave him a lot of support, and he also released a song that Luther wrote called "The Girls Want to Dance with Me," which peaked at number 6 on the R&B charts in 1988. But why?
Really?
Go ahead.
I said really. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I didn't know that.
Didn't
But
know that.
why they decided to record together, I don't know. Now, Hines was a lead singer in a band in California in the 70s.
Mhm.
I think it was called Severance, which was a house band for one of the local bars there. But how he got into doing this with
Mhm.
Luther, I don't know. I'm glad they did it because it's one of my favorite songs.
It's my favorite songs.
Wow.
One of my favorite songs.
Yeah, it is really one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
Okay, so my thought with duets is usually you want to blend, but you want to be able to distinguish your vocals.
Mhm.
Their voices are actually very close,
Similar.
They're very close.
very close. I mean, if
Mhm.
you listen, you can tell who's singing what, but they're both pretty strong tenors. And of course, Hines was a very famous dancer and also became a pretty famous actor
Mhm.
Right.
before his untimely death in August of 2023. 2003, rather. He died 2003. Any other thoughts about There's Nothing Better?
Now we need to find out the backstory of how they got. I mean, well, we know that Luther wrote for him, but how did they come together?
Don't know.
Hmm.
Hines died in August, like I mentioned, August 9th, 2003 of lung
And
cancer.
did Luther write this song as a duet with Gregory Hines in mind? I just have questions.
Oh, you need to find answers, but not now.
Oh, okay.
Well, I thought, and this was going to come up later, but I believe there's a Luther Vandross autobiography movie coming out. Have you
I heard that.
heard
I
that?
can't remember who was going to star in, but there is a movie coming out.
Well, you think you would have come to this podcast prepared with
Well,
answers.
you think you would have come prepared with the backstory about how they got to do the duet together.
We can ask the color commentary woman if she knows, but I don't think she.
It's not my color.
But you're a star in the black charts. All right.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So the final single from the album, Give Me the Reason, which came out more than a year after the first single, was the song So Amazing, which was released September 1987. And
Loved it.
That's like the best.
so I didn't know the song was written for Dionne Warwick by
He wrote it for her.
Luther
And it was on
and
her album. Can't remember which album it was on.
you finish.
Oh,
All
I was
right.
to bring
Yes.
a
Thank you,
knowledge to
Susan.
it.
You bring, yeah, learn us some more.
I thought we were supposed to bring some knowledge to this podcast.
Yeah, knowledge me, please, knowledge me.
No, that's all I know. I'm not saying anything else. Go on.
The album was called How Many Times Can We Say Goodbye in 1983. It was the Dionne Warwick album. And Luther wrote So Amazing with Marcus Miller, who also co-produced the song with him. And it was a fantastic version of the song. Also, Stevie Wonder, Beyonce recorded a duet of So Amazing for the tribute album to Luther, which was released in 2005.
Can I just say, I don't like when people redo. Luther's done a lot of remakes of songs. He's done Stevie songs. He's done Dionne Warwick songs. But I don't like when people do Luther songs. Just leave him alone. You can't. You
Whitney
can't touch.
Houston also sang Luther So Amazing as a tribute to him with regard to career achievement, and that was in 1999.
Okay.
So been done a lot by a lot of people. And why was the song done a lot? Because it's amazing.
It's
So amazing.
so amazing.
So amazing. So those are all the singles from the album Give Me a Reason. Like I mentioned, So Amazing was produced by Luther only, but written with him and Marcus Miller. So we talked about more than half the album, actually. Are there any standout songs that you want to talk about?
Wait a minute. You didn't talk. We need to talk about Anyone Who Had a Heart.
Oh, yeah, we should probably talk about that last.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Let's talk about
What do you
that
mean?
now. Let's talk about that now, since Susan
Okay.
ruled the flow of the podcast by talking about the last song. When we have another hour or two to talk about the song. So Luther, my understanding is from the Luther albums I have, and I have most of them. I couldn't find my CD of this. I have a cassette of Give Me a Reason. I have a CD, can't find it. It's not on iTunes, and it's not on Apple Music. It's not on Amazon Music, but I do have a cassette. Luther tends to, I'm not sure he did on every album, but he tends to cover a classic R&B song as a close to every album.
Right.
You know, if you know that's not true, feel free to write me and fight me on this. But
no fighting.
And Anyone Had a Heart, of course, was written by the great Burt Bacharach and Hal David during the lyrics, and it was written for Dionne Warwick in 1963. This song, well, what do you think about the song? Tell me about it. What do you think?
Again, it's a ballad. I love it. I especially love, I don't know, with all his ballads, is how the background singers just blend. I mean, just like butter.
Butter.
That's why I like the ballads, because it's just like
butter.
Melting butter right on all over you. But I love this song, and you know, I can see Dionne Warwick singing it, and I can see Luther singing it. Luther's a little smoother, but I love Dionne Warwick's voice, because she's got a powerful voice. This one is just so smooth, you know, and just like he says, anyone who had a heart would surely take me in their arms. Yeah, I'd take you in my arms with that song.
Love me too. You. It's just
the visual's slightly disturbing, but okay.
Sorry. But it just makes you stop. You stop.
Do you stop to love?
No. Oh God.
It's very like pleading.
Right. Oh yeah.
The heart. You know, hey.
Yeah.
I hate to say you're right, but I would agree. And I listened to the On Warwick version, which was the original version that
Mhm.
Mhm.
Bregman did. Her version is wonderful. His version
Mhm.
is absolutely stellar for the reasons you both stated. I mean, his voice is great. He doesn't do overdubs of his lead vocals,
Mhm.
um, and that's great because he really can emote really well. One thing I think that distinguishes this song compared to the other songs on the album is the production is a lot more laid back here and more serving the song than the productions on the other songs. Though I don't hate the production. I think it was very timely at the time, of course. And now most of it's pretty good. But here he does a fantastic job keeping the clutter out of the way. You have real strings, which were arranged by, I think Paul Reiser did the strings on this album, on this song on the album, and they work really well. You have authentic Fender Rhodes sounding keyboards and touches of synthesizer, but real Fender Rhodes, and you have real bass. You also have um, we talked about Paul Jackson Jr. and Doc Powell on guitar. You have me return here, and you have real drums by Yogi Horton. It is phenomenal. It is
Phenomenal.
great, great end to this album.
It really is.
A
It
great
truly is.
tribute to Dion, as well as Hal David and Burt Bacharach.
Mhm. It's and I remember seeing him live in DC, and he sang this. It's like that's one of my greatest concert memories.
Wait a minute, you saw him live?
I told you the
Oh God, you gotta get a.
story.
Are you gonna get a story about him touching her hand?
He touched his
Oh.
hand right here. He kissed his hand right here
Uh,
because he walked right by me.
And she had washed her hands since.
Watch my that was
Dirty Hands in the Black Chart. Yes.
he was on
Okay.
tour with In Vogue, and he had to walk by me, and he stopped, and the light was on.
So basically, he stopped to love you, is what you're saying.
He stopped to love.
He said, Luther,
Stopped to
stop.
love.
Yes. Okay. So we didn't talk about See Me, which he wrote with Marcus Miller, which again, another great combination of backing vocals. Great, great handling of that song as well. Anything on See Me?
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm. It was now again. I like the album, but that'd be one song I probably listen to. And like, okay, I'm done with that song, and just skip to the next one.
Right. And then the song I would skip to is I Gave It Up When I Fell in Love, which is a Marcus Miller, Luther Vandross
Oh,
song.
but that's a jazzy tune. He goes skippity
That is
dippity doo.
fantastic.
He
Absolutely
was that skippity
fantastic.
dippity, and the little background singers do the skippity dippity doo or whatever they
Yeah.
do.
So the skippity dippity do chorus. First of all, I think
Hey,
this is my thought on that. It fits really well, but it wasn't meant to be there. It was a placeholder, and he said, "Oh, let's leave it in there, Marcus."
well, in place and it held. Look, because I know that part. Skippity dippity doo. I know dip, but whatever it is.
Yeah, the scat singing was incredible
The
by
scat,
the
the
female,
scatting.
the
It's like
female alto. Mostly the alto singers handle that too.
right.
oh yeah.
Gonna do some scatting.
And I
That
have to
song.
mention, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Kirk Whalum handled the sax solo on that, as well as a sax solo on Anyone Who Had a Heart.
Oh
And
really? Okay.
fantastic
Oh
job.
wow. Okay.
Very good.
Yeah. Then we did talk about So Amazing, so we did that. We did Give Me a
Mhm.
Reason. We talked about There's Nothing Better Than Love. And we talked about Really Didn't Mean It, which
Oh, yeah,
you
we
didn't want to
meant
listen
it.
to. And then, like I said, the only song we had not talked about was the song Because It's Really.
That's another one. Slow. Cheryl
I
don't
like
like it.
it. No, that was
Oh, I thought I was gonna say.
another ballad.
Another ballad.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
it's just it's
I'm
nice.
I'm a Luther ballad girl.
A
Luther
ballad.
Ballad Girl. And this is
Ballad.
another song where it was slow. Yeah, it featured Paul Jackson Jr. and Doc Powell again on guitars together. It has minimal backing in terms of real drums. You hear Yogi Horton's snare, his cymbal, and his ride cymbals. It's really almost it's organic. It has some touches of synthesizer with Fender Rhodes or Wurlitzer for piano, but the call and response vocals between Luther and background vocals
Mm-hmm.
make
Mm-hmm.
this song.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
and
And you do both parts when you sing it.
yep, you do, and also Luther here,
Because it's love. You do both
yep,
parts.
and he also did more overdubbing of his vocals on this song than probably any other song on the album. So this song could have, in my mind, maybe should have been a single instead of I Really Didn't Mean It.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really do mean it.
I go
I mean,
with
it
that.
really didn't mean
Yeah, I
anything.
go
It
with
was kind of dancey, and I guess people
Yeah.
in the 80s wanted to dance. I don't remember the 80s very well,
Right.
but there you go.
I agree.
that.
I agree.
Okay.
Right, so we're in agreement. So,
Girl.
anything else you want to add about the album? Give Me the Reason by Luther Vandross.
It's
Oh.
it's one of the it's one of the best ones. I mean, he's had so many. It's
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah, it's really hard to.
say, that's my favorite. It's hard for me to ever say this one album is my favorite Luther Vandross album, because on every album there's, even to his last ones, there's there's probably more than 3 songs or 4 songs on every album that I like. So it's extreme, because the last time you pick an album, I can't pick one of Luther's. Luther, what was it? What did we do? 5 of our favorites?
5 of our favorite albums?
Yeah, wasn't it 5? I can't remember the number. But I could have filled them all up with Luther. That would have been right. Would have been right.
Yeah, I asked for 5. It could have, you're right. It
Yeah.
could
It could have been all of them,
yeah. I mean, when we were getting together for this podcast, this kickoff season 6, I asked for a Luther album. And I know when we talked about our favorite albums, 5 favorite albums, which was probably a year and a half ago, we mentioned a Luther album. We could go. I mean, there's so many. You're right, Susan. I hate to say
Never
it,
too
right?
much.
There's so many great Luther albums that it's hard to pick a great or your favorite. But this is still one of my favorite albums.
Absolutely.
Even with the production, the songs are great, the playing is great, and his voice and the female vocalists as well as the male vocalists are just fantastic.
Mhm. It's hard. And again, and we'll never have any R&B like this ever again. We won't.
Maybe not. I mean,
No, maybe not. We won't.
all the old people think that their music of their generation was the best. So that's all I have to say. And this podcast is really about most of this old stuff that we talk about in this podcast. I occasionally talk about an album which is a new release. And I have, I think, 3 this season I'm going to talk about or interview people on new releases. But it's fine to go back to the 80s. And when I think about Luther, I don't think about Dance with My Father, which won the Grammy.
Yeah.
I don't think about even Luther Vandross of 2001. I usually go back to Power of Love, Any Love, The Night I Fell in Love, Busybody, Never Too Much. I mean, those are I usually, when I think Luther, I think of those albums.
There are 2 songs that I absolutely love. Never Too Much is my favorite, one of my favorites. And I'd rather have bad times with you than good times with someone else.
What song is that?
Rather be beside you.
I'd rather be beside you in a storm
than safe and warm.
Okay, I don't know that.
I'd rather have hard times together than to have it easy apart. I'd rather have someone.
The one who holds my heart.
Who knows my heart. Come on now. Sing
it. Cheryl, anything else you want to add since Susan went on her little
I'm sorry.
person tangent?
I'm good. No, I have my favorites, and those 3 are actually ones that I actually listen to on a regular, but if something else happens to slide in there, I can in my little playlist. I can sing it.
Cut the heart in your playlist. Add to your playlist.
Yes, ma'am.
Add to your playlist. Well, I want to thank you both again for the support of the podcast for these 6 seasons and your appearance. You're stalwart. So I always want to have on, especially when we talk about some great R&B albums. Your contributions have been invaluable. So thank you very much, and we will talk soon about some other albums. But thank you.
Thank you.